Hello everyone, welcome back to the Capsule in Conversation. I'm Natalie Anderson, and on today's episode I'm joined by our fashion editor Anna Muse and this week's very special guest, presenter and all-round badass chick Helen Skelton, as we talk the juggle struggle, jumping out of planes and getting the job done. So grab a drink, close the door and get ready to join in with our conversation. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the last normal episode of In Conversation. I say normal, we're not exactly normal, are we, Anna?
Are any of them normal?
Are any of them normal? But as our final episode will be a Mother's Day special with me and my mum. So for the last time this series, I am joined today by our fabulous Anna Muse. Hello, Anna.
Hello, lovely.
13 episodes. We've had a great time, haven't we?
We have. Gosh, is it 13?
13, yeah.
We have done a lot of talking.
We have talked a lot. Yes, absolutely. And for the very first time, we are welcoming this week's very special guest, the gorgeous firecracker herself, Helen Skelton. Hello.
I'll take that. Yeah, firecracker. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us, Helen. I mean, I don't know how you've managed to fit us in, what with presenting a new radio show, launching a children's wear range, promoting your book, doing the day job as a TV presenter and raising two tiny boys. I mean, did you just need an excuse for a rest and a cup of tea?
That's the first hot coffee. I can't even speak. I don't know. That's the first hot coffee I've had in about a month, because you make them, don't you? And then you leave them around the house because you're like, oh no, I need to do this, I need to do that. This morning, I've literally done 4 washes, 5 tumble dryer loads. I was like, that's how exciting life gets on a Friday morning off, because it's just been a bit of a backlog, really. Yeah, good times, but busy times. Sorry, kicking the door.
It's all right. And a poorly child.
Yeah, he woke up. My 4.5-year-old has never slept through, not once. So every night he comes in for a cuddle, which I don't mind.
Yeah.
I mean, if anyone, you're like, okay, he'll be 18 in but he came in last night and he just didn't want to be cuddled, and I thought, what's wrong with him? Next minute, he projectile vomited everywhere.
Oh, bless him.
All over the
poor
dog.
You. Oh, God, poor dog.
And you're like, you're moving house as well, aren't you?
So we've got house viewings today.
Obviously.
Good timing in. So, yeah, it just all happens at once, doesn't it? I mean,
always.
I think sometimes, especially in my job, everyone's like, oh my God, you're non-stop. But sometimes you're filming stuff and then it goes out 6 months later or whatever. So, yeah, it has all happened at once. I'm doing maternity cover for someone. I'm backfilling someone on something else. But it's kind of one of those things where you're like, oh, that'll be fun, so I'll do that. I'll be fun, so I'll do that.
Yeah.
And then with me, I like to pack everything into a mental day and then have a day off, so I can get the washing done and clean the sick up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, you've started your career at Blue Peter, which is renowned for testing its presenters' endurance and bravery. I mean, you're a bit of a game girl, but what's the craziest thing you've ever done?
People always talk about the big sort of headline ones. I was really lucky when I was on Blue Peter. They were at a time where, and I can say this now because I'm sort of far enough away from it. I joined Blue Peter when they weren't sure if they were going to can it or not.
Yeah.
So they were kind of like, the editor was a bit like, we either do something really special or we just say we've had a good time and pack it up. And I think I was lucky that we both took a gamble and did some big things. So I canoed the Amazon, I ran 80 miles in the desert, what else did I do? I cycled to the South Pole. We did big headline grabbing things to kind of say, we think this kids show has still got a place and still got a relevance. And luckily for us, the audience bought into it and the kids got really excited about it. And it meant, we kept going and we kept getting the support we needed from the wider BBC to go off and do it. Because it's not that easy to convince, sort of stuffy old guys in health and safety at the BBC.
I mean, you did get 2 world records from doing that Amazon challenge.
I mean, that was probably the biggest gamble. I went to my boss and I was like, oh, maybe we should do this.
Sorry, this was your idea.
Well, one of my colleagues had said, "You could. Why don't you do a bit of a pedalo down the Amazon?" The Blue Peter office was like a sixth form common room.
Yeah.
There was air guitar, there was buckets of sweets. Everybody was sort of West London and trendy and cool and big sofas. It was a bit like what people imagine the Google office is. And people would come up with crazy ideas like, why doesn't she go and do a bit of a pedalo down the Amazon? And I said, if we're going to do a bit of it, why don't we do it all? To which everybody said, that's ridiculous, that's bonkers, you shouldn't do it. And I think the more people said you shouldn't do it, the more my boss was like,
we're going to do it.
yeah, if this is really crazy, it'll be good telly.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I didn't get kidnapped by pirates. I came back in one piece.
Thank goodness. Were you always a bit of like a daredevil and adventurous before you got that job? Because obviously that's when most of us got to know you. And so that's what you're known for. But were you like that before?
Yes and no. I mean, I was a tomboy. I grew up on a farm. I was always muddy and liked sleeping in the garden more than I liked sleeping in the house. But I wasn't. No, I wasn't a runner, and I went to Blue Peter and ran ultramarathons. I think I just got to Blue Peter and thought, if I'm going to do this, I may as well make the most of it.
Yeah.
And it's, whatever people think of that show, at the time it was on primetime BBC One, had a big budget, had a big audience, and I was a bit like, I'd come from a small regional newsroom at Radio Cumbria, and I was like, oh my goodness, there's like 15 people working on one programme. Yeah, let's make something.
Make the most of the opportunity, right?
That was literally it. I thought we may as well make the most of it because you never know how long it's going to last.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, is it important for you even now to push yourself out of your comfort zone?
Yeah, all the time. I sign up for things and I think, why am I doing this?
Yeah, because I see you doing it and I'm like, oh my God, she's doing this now. That's why I'm asking you. I'm like, do you feel like you have to do it?
I don't feel like I have to do it. I think people think that I do it to prove a point.
Yeah.
I do it to prove something to myself. Like, I had 2 babies in 2 years and I adore them. They're everything that I exist for. But, I have a career that, sometimes people love you, sometimes people loathe you, sometimes you get a job because you've got the right hair colour or the right accent. And all of that stuff can leave your head in a bit of a puddle, I think. You sort of question yourself and am I good enough? Am I doing the right thing? And you get criticism and this, that and the other. And for me, doing the challenges is a bit of a reminder about what I'm about. So like, I literally just got off the phone with my friend on the way here. So I'm going to America in a few weeks with a group of other mums and we're going to run from Vegas to LA.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And it's one of them, my friend was like, why are you doing that? And I said, because a year ago I would have been like, oh, I don't know, it's just what I'm about. But I think now we're all allowed to say, like, this is how we keep our mental health in check.
Yeah.
For me, I do that stuff because it's a reminder of this is what I'm about and this is what I'm capable of.
Yeah.
And I know I need to say, like, I was at Blackpool with my little boys last summer and a girl went on a ride and my eldest went, oh, that's like you, mummy, you're brave. And I was like, yes, babe.
Yeah.
That's what I mean, is for you as a parent is important.
Yeah, because I'll come back from that and I know I will happily play doh and be drawed on for 24 hours. I come back from doing stuff like that and I feel a bit more focused on being a mum. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think as well, I do the Tough Mudder every year and you did it last year, didn't you? And I know a lot of my reasons are that I have to give myself that challenge to push myself to see what I'm capable of. Like you say, when you do doubt yourself, you think, I want a bit of self-worth. And if I can do something or achieve something on a physical level, then I don't know, it just gives you that sense of pride.
It's exhilarating. And I think especially after you've had kids, and again, we've talked about this a lot, I think most of us to some degree will lose a sense of self because you're so consumed by these tiny humans that are just taking everything from you, which you gladly give.
Of course, yeah.
But you get to a point then where you're like, oh, when was the last time I did anything that was just for me and not focused on, nurturing my family? And I think having that balance, which for you is obviously the challenges and pushing yourself out of the comfort zone, it makes you a better partner, friend, daughter, mother, all-rounded, balanced human being. And I think it's really important.
And it just makes you feel good. Exercising releases endorphins. I love my food. I love my wine.
Yeah.
And you can enjoy all of that stuff guilt-free. That's for me is why I do it.
Yeah, and again, it's like what your son said to you. My Freddie did the same. He was like, Mummy, you're really tough.
Yeah.
You do Tough Mudder. And I think as a woman in particular, if you are raising boys, that it's important that those boys see women as being strong and powerful and brave and not just airy, fairy or delicate. It's like, you know, I'm always saying to Fred, you know, mummy's kick-ass, you know, mummy can whoop you if she needs to. Because I just think, don't make us out like we're tender little flowers. You know, we're strong. And for boys, they need to know that from a young age.
Definitely. My little boy said to me at one point last year something about we were playing, and he went, "No, Daddy will be playing and Mummy will be in the kitchen." I was like, whoa. Do you know who I am? But I think as well it's good for confidence. Like sometimes for me, you know, I do jobs when you're in the public eye, of course, especially at the moment, everybody's talking about criticism and trolls and how we receive all of that. Yeah. Everybody gets criticised. To me, that's water off a duck's back, because I'm not going to walk around going, do you know what? I canoed the Amazon and I've got world records, but I know that in my head.
Yeah.
I don't care what some random anonymous person says on Twitter who collects 50p's from the trolleys at the shopping centre, because actually I know in my head, I don't have to sit here and go, I've done this, I've done that, but it gives you a bit of inner confidence. And I think that's really important these days. Social media has had the most weird effect on culture. I mean, has anything ever, what else has had such a massive and immediate effect on the way we all behave? And I think it's really important to sort of be able to protect yourself a bit.
So again, how do you protect yourself, like in terms of your form of self-care? What do you do?
I think doing stuff like marathons or whatever, and I'm not saying everyone should go out and do a marathon, do something that pushes you, because then it's a little reminder to yourself that you're like, do you know what? No, actually, I am capable of some pretty tough stuff. Like I did a series recently that was very, very alpha male and very, very like, we're tough and we're gnarly, and it kind of left me really questioning what I'm about. And I was like, hang on a minute. I gave birth to 2 humans.
Yes.
One of
Doesn't
them
get
by
much harder than
myself.
that.
Yeah, back off, mate. Like I think sometimes it's just about it's about giving yourself those inner reminders.
Yeah.
I'm not one for like going all over Instagram and saying feel this and do that, and then that's great. Some people do that. I think for me, it's about giving yourself those little reminders and like looking in the mirror and being like, do you know what? I can't do what he or she does, but they can't do what I do.
Yeah, exactly. And what about social media? So obviously we all have social media in our lives, and like you were saying, you get criticised. Sometimes you're loved, sometimes you're loathed. Does it genuinely not bother you? Is it just literally like a water off a duck's back?
I think I've had it so long, and I don't mean that in a needy way.
Yeah.
A lot of the Instagrammers now, they're used to being liked, because Instagram's always been about the likes.
Yeah.
Whereas I was on telly on the 2012 Olympics when Twitter first came out, and Twitter's vicious.
Yes.
And sport is harsh. So I think I probably jumped straight into the deep end. So my experience of Twitter is a very negative one. I mean, I said so I'm covering at 5 Live at the minute, very serious. They're all grown-up journalists and they talk about, politics and stuff. And then I rock up and I'm like, hey. And so my editor said to me, oh, you might get a bit of criticism on Twitter. And I said, I genuinely would be more concerned if I didn't. Like if I'm on telly with something and then you go and look up your name, I'd be more concerned if there wasn't Twitter criticism, because it's just always there. So I think I'm just used to it. And I also think I've got to the point where it matters what my kids think. It matters what my family think. And then beyond that, I don't know that person, so
not bothered.
Bore off.
Yeah.
I mean, alongside programmes like obviously the Tonight, ITV's Tonight and Country File, you do a lot of live television. This goes back to the adrenaline for you. Do you prefer live telly because it's a bit mad?
100%.
Yeah. I could see that you would.
I love that. With live telly, you do it and you make it work and then it's gone.
Yeah.
And you've got that energy in that moment and kind of, it's like in telly, they're running around like headless chickens.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm like, guys, yes, it's serious, but it's not heart surgery on kids.
Yeah.
So if someone's camera shot's a little bit soft or somebody talks over someone, it doesn't really matter. I think the audience is so experienced now that they're not bothered. Do you know what I mean? It's all funny, isn't it? Like, I love it when stuff goes wrong.
Even like when meerkats kind of... do you want to explain that to us?
No, so I was doing a zoo series. The whole thing about children and animals, that's all my career's ever been.
Oh, that's go on.
I was doing a zoo programme at Yorkshire Wildlife Park, and we were doing the opening links, and someone said, oh, of course, we'll put food on them and the meerkats will crawl all over them. It literally was like nibbling my bum. You know, in a way you can't, and they were like, don't touch the meerkats. But you know, and you can't sort of not react. So yeah, it got a bit hilarious. But yeah, I love all that. I think people find it fun. And
I think people do now. I think people have a more realistic expectation. I think one of the things social media has done is broken down that barrier of everything on television having to seem perfect all of the time. And like actually when things go wrong or someone makes a mistake, people empathize and connect with them even more in a way.
My boss once said to me on a training course in front of all the like big serious like proper BBC journalists, you know, think of like the really serious famous ones, they were on this course and we all had to get critiqued, and they went, Helen, the issue with you is you're so relaxed on TV, people get nervous. And I was like,
don't know what you're going to do.
Yeah. And I said, people get nervous or you get nervous?
Yeah,
and he was
exactly.
like, you're the only one sat here with your feet crossed under your legs, because we were like sat on a couch situation.
Yeah.
And I was like, but if I was at home, I would be sitting like this and I'm talking to people at home.
Yeah.
And you knew, and everyone's just looking at you like, stop talking, Helen, he's criticising you.
But what a gift to be able to be that relaxed in front of, like, on live television. That must, I mean, does it exhilarate you to be on and doing that? Like,
yeah,
it must do.
Every few months I think, I should do something else. I should do something that I should work from home so that I can always be at home with the kids. Like, I really ring fence my time. I try and do 2 or 3 long days and then I'm at home the rest of the time. But when I'm doing those long days, I think, no, do you know what? I should be at home all the time. And sometimes I have weeks off, or sometimes I have busy weeks, just feast and famine. But then my husband's always like, you love what you do. And very few people love what they do. And so, yeah, then I'll go back and do a week. And I'm like, no, this is the best thing ever. I love the people in telly. Telly attracts the most bonkers people.
Yeah, that is very true. And I enjoy live telly. Like, it is brilliant. And, you know, you don't know what's ever going to happen. But it's in a slightly less, for example, when you're in theatre and it's live, you're normally playing a role and everything's set and, you know, there's timed cues and whatnot else. So the pressure that you get in live theatre is very different to the pressure that you get in live telly, because in live telly, you can afford to kind of acknowledge it and laugh it off. If you do that in live theatre, that's a big no, unless you're doing panto, and otherwise people would be like, she's broken character, that's really unprofessional. Do you know what I mean? And so you can't really do it in theatre, but in telly, I agree with you. I think it adds to the excitement and the fun and the bringing in of the audience as well. They're in on the joke, which is nicer.
And sometimes it's more interesting when stuff's going wrong, you know? I was doing Radio 2 through the night once and the fire alarms went off, so we all had to leave the building. On my days, all the truckers were texting in, they're like, what's going on? Is the BBC burning down? And then, it's real. It's good. It's a good adrenaline buzz. I'm lucky and I don't take it for granted. It's good fun. I'm doing a farming show in a few weeks' time, so I'm like, yes, bring on the lambing.
The lambing.
Chaos, yeah.
I mean, do you think that the industry is a different place for women than it is for men? Because obviously with women, it's so image focused. I mean, you know, you are on your Instagram, you know, you're always with your children, and like you put holiday pictures on there, beautiful ones, you know, it's you in a bikini with your kids having a lovely time, and that will end up somewhere. And yet this is a lady who's just on holiday with her kids.
Oh, we have a joke about it. I'm always like, no, that sounds arrogant, but sometimes I'm like, that'll be in the Daily Mail. It's just a bit of a joke. Like, I got more headlines in the newspapers when I came off social media for a while. Because sometimes I'm just like,
you need a break.
Well, I quite often just leave my phone in another room. So, like, I'll be on my phone for half an hour. I view it like a work computer. Like, I'll go onto my phone, do whatever, email, social media, whatever. There's usually like 15 calls from my mum, like, why are you not answering? Why are you not answering? So I sort of view my phone like a work computer. I got more headlines when I came off social media for a while about the fact I'd come off social media than I did for being the first person in history to cycle to the South Pole.
Oh, my.
I was like, first woman in history to cycle to the South Pole. There's loads of stuff you can talk about in terms of, the global crisis, in terms of pollution and climate change and all the rest of it. There's so many angles you could talk about. That probably made 2 papers. When I came off line, that was in every paper. Well, when I wear those shorts at the Olympics.
We were going to ask you about the Olympics, weren't they? How does that make you feel? Like, it's, How do you handle that? You know,
I just think it's hilarious. I think it's so funny. And it's almost like when you've got kids, you have a completely different perspective on life, don't you? Yeah. And like, you know, I'm closer to 40 than 30. I'm sure this isn't we need wine for this conversation, but like we've all been through the stuff that life throws at you, the bad stuff, the heartbreaking stuff, the disappointing stuff. And so actually, all of that stuff is intense and upsetting. A pair of shorts, I mean, that's just funny.
Yeah.
Like literally, we were in Rio. It was my first gig back from after having Ernie. He was 14 months old, and so I was going out to Rio to do the Olympics. I hadn't worked for 14 months, so I said to my friend who's a stylist, get me some good outfits, I want to feel good. So fine, that was it. Next minute, my brother phones me, why is Dad on this morning? And my dad is like a northern Cumbrian farmer. I was like, I don't know, why is Dad? So there's all this hoo-ha about me wearing these shorts, and it's so funny because people still ask me about it. I know I've brought it up here, but we're friends. But people ask me about it 4 years later, journalists, do you feel objectified as a woman? And I'm like, no, I just wore some shorts, like not really big deal. And everyone got in such a tiz about it. And then I've had journalists getting in touch with me. They're so upset, like they feel bad about it. And I'm like, oh, guys, it's fun. Like,
it is fun for you, I suppose, in terms of that. You know, you've got a very healthy look at it. However, in terms of from an industry point of view, do you think it is still a bit rubbish, really, that, again, you know, we're going back to media, that's what they want to focus on. They don't want to focus on the good stuff, on the actual, you know, changing things.
But the thing is, I think we have to be careful not whinging about that, because you take the rough with the smooth. Like, I'm on telly partly because I have a public profile, partly because people click on me when I'm in the Daily Mail in a bikini. And all of those things are circular. And like, do you know what? I would take issue if someone was following my kids around on holiday and intruding my privacy. But I put that out there. Like, I have more issue with some of our peers who maybe put out photos and then get the knickers in a twist that those photos, like Instagram and Twitter and Facebook are not private family WhatsApp groups.
Yeah.
They are public platforms, and if you're putting them out there, if you have a public profile, and that's how I pay my bills, you know, off the back of the fact that I have a public profile. So I think we kind of have to, like, we have to be careful about biting off the hand that feeds us.
Yeah, and I totally get that completely. I think, from my point of view, I'm kind of just saying that it's rubbish in the sense that the media still goes to those areas. You know, I get that, we as public people, you put yourself out there, and so it is, you kind of are. Well, we've always been told it's part of the job, you know, and it is. And unfortunately, though, it is a bit annoying in the sense that, you know, you could be talking about something incredible or doing something amazing, but that, as you said earlier, won't get a mention.
Oh, no,
and that's the infuriating bit. But going back to like social media, because I think your social media is really healthy in the sense that you do a bit of everything. You know, there's family on there, there's work, there's fashion, there's mad adventures that you're doing. Do you feel like you've got a responsibility to, like, younger people that follow you to show a healthy, like, rounded lifestyle?
No, do you know what? I think all my friends who are like in Instagram world and my agent and everything tell me off because they're like, oh, your social media is not focused. And I'm like, no, because social media is not my job. Like, it's some people's job, but it's not my job. I just for me, this is genuine for me. I lose so many phones and break so many phones, like my kids will put them in toilets or whatever, that for me, it's a bit of a record. Like, I like to know
to keep, like a life diary. Yeah.
And I have a bit of anxiety about putting the kids on because I'm like, and I really try, because my kids are wild, like funny, but I've really stepped back now that Ernie started school from putting them on social media, because I feel like he needs to go to school and be his own person, rather than sometimes people go to me, oh, you're Ernie, he's so funny, and I'm like, oh, okay, like judge him on what he's chose to show you, not what I've chose to show you.
Yeah.
So I really sort of, then sometimes you think like you're being a bad mouth. Do people think I won't like my kids as much as everyone else did? I put my kids all over social media. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, should I put them on?
You do that though, don't you? Because I don't put that much of my Fred on, and I sometimes think, oh God, she doesn't like him. I'm not proud of him. I am proud of him.
My kids aren't on mine at all, ever. But that's just how I've chosen to do it.
I mean, that's a decision you've made in terms of your business, isn't it?
Yeah, and obviously I don't have the same profile as you guys, but for me, it was like, no, I'm just going to keep
I think
them
that's
out of
good,
it. You know, it's just, but I do sometimes think some people, if they don't ever listen to my stories or read my posts, which I think some people don't, you just scroll, don't you? They wouldn't even know I had like kids and a husband.
Like them,
she doesn't like them. I know.
Not like us, we really like ours. Yeah.
I mean, in terms of the industry, do you also think it's important, because you have so many things going on, Helen? Honestly, like I say, I'm like, oh my God, what's she doing now?
Exhausted.
Then, but like, do you think it's important to diversify in the industry?
I think yes, because then I feel like like I'm in control.
Yes.
I started Tiebreaker, the kids' clothes, because my kids never want to get dressed. But also, when my friends are like, haven't you got enough going on? I was like, no, because do you know what? If I don't want to do 3 or 4 long days and be, whatever, if I want to just be in my office, in my house all day, every day, then I can focus on that.
Yeah.
Like I did it because I kind of wanted something that I was in control of.
Yeah.
So I do think it's important to diversify. And I also think not to sound arrogant, because obviously sometimes you get nothing, sometimes you get everything. But whenever if the odd occasion I've been offered sort of staff jobs, I'm like, no, because I like to appreciate it. And I think sometimes you don't appreciate it. Like when I've been in jobs at the BBC, like Blue Peter, best job in the world. There's no better job. What other job? Oh, do you know what? You might meet the Queen this week, Helen. And if you don't meet the Queen, you'll meet Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
And I think I did that for 7 years, that I had to leave while I loved it, because plenty of people don't appreciate it. Country file.
Yeah.
I mean, I only do one overnight, so I'll go late on a Wednesday, put the kids to bed late on a Wednesday night, but that invariably means driving to 6 hours, whatever, getting there at silly o'clock, getting up early, filming all day, getting back late. So it's easy to whinge about that. And then I'm like, hang on a minute. I think I've just basically spent a day in one of the most beautiful parts of the world with interesting people.
Yeah.
So I think it's easy to take it for granted if you do it every week, and that's why I like to mix it up.
Absolutely, and you do completely mix it up massively. I mean, so tell us a bit more about Tiebreaker. So what's the ethos behind it?
So my kids hate getting dressed. They just want to be naked all the time, or the best I can get them in is like sports leggings. And I just found, like, for my kids, everything for boys, everything was nothing wrong with dinosaurs and dungarees and tractors, but that's all there was, really.
Yeah.
And mine my 4-year-old, for a year and a half, he's been like, that's babyish, mummy, that's babyish.
Yeah, they get to that point, don't they?
And I was like, you're 4. How is that even possible? And so I ended up just buying them sports gear and buckets of sports gear that was just rubbish. So I wanted something that could be passed on to brother and sister. I wanted something that could be passed down.
It is unisex, isn't it?
Yeah. It's unisex. It is. The whole point is that it's sustainable, but obviously that's easier said than done. So I would say we're on a sustainable journey. Everything is organic. Everything, food, everything is taken into consideration to make it as sustainable as possible. And hopefully it'll be produced very close to home within the sort of next 2 collections. That's the idea. So yeah, it was just a fun collection for my boys, really, that's kind of grown into something a bit bigger than I thought it was going to be. I mean, you can't get in my garage for kids' hoodies,
Is it all in there, is it?
T-shirts, leggings.
So is it online then? Is that how you shop it? Shop online?
It's all online, tiebreaker.com and on Instagram. We have had a few independent boutiques get in touch with us and want to stock it. So they've bought out all of some of our joggers and all of a few of our bits. So I would say 80% of it is online.
Oh, fantastic.
20% of it is in shops. But yeah, to be honest, going forward, we'll just put it in independent shops. So I've contacted a lot of mums who run businesses and said, look, let's do something that's mutually beneficial. We're all after the same end goal. Be mums, be present, be focused, keep the wolf from the door. So if anyone does want to stock it, then get in touch and hopefully we can do something that works for both of us.
And that whole sustainability thing, on your social media as well, that's something I've seen you talk about in terms of your own clothes and how you buy and, kind of moving away from fast fashion.
I've always been useless at fast fashion because I just can never make it. I really want to shop at all those websites, but I can just never make it work for me. Like,
I love how honest she is. She's always like, I really want to, but I can't.
Yeah. No, but when you like...
Yeah, no, I do. That's what I mean.
And then I think I've bought a few things online that I just bit just naff.
Well,
so I've always been a big fan of dress agencies, which bizarrely kind of went out of.
Yeah,
they did. They kind of went out of fashion.
And then have kind of started to kind of come back again now.
Yeah.
There's a few really good ones.
If you had a dress agency, I bet you're thinking, I wish I hung on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've always bought things secondhand or pre-loved. That's the trendier term, isn't it?
Yes.
Just because it annoys me paying £300 for something and then wearing it once, or even like like nice jumpers or nice jackets or stuff. And also, I want to mix it up. My family take the mick out of me because I've got jackets and dresses that I've had since I was 16.
But I think that's a good thing. And you're always, every time I see Natalie, I'm like, oh, you look lovely. And she's like, oh, I've had this for years and years and years. But I think, and we see you wearing the same thing more than once, but I think that's needed because, and like the Duchess of Cambridge, when she re-wears something, the tabloids are all like, oh, she's worn the same dress again. But actually, that's what we all do in real life. And it's really nice to see people with a more public profile doing the same thing and buying less and choosing well and making those clothes last.
Unless you are a millionaire and unless you think that the planet has infinite resources, which it does not. You can't afford to wear stuff once and chuck it away.
Exactly.
And I don't know how that became acceptable, because it has for a while, hasn't it? It was like, that's fine. You just wear, you wear
it for a season and then, ditch it for next season.
Well, also, it doesn't matter that it doesn't wash good because you just chuck it out. And I'm like, but where are you chucking it to?
Yeah, exactly. And also a load of young people that are just getting into debt.
Yeah.
That's the thing that worries me so much, is how many young people, 16 upwards, and especially university students who are spending all their student loans on clothes. It really worries me.
Well, actually, young people are.
Look at this, because like we're really old people.
I know. But that's true, isn't it? We're like, soon we'll get free checkups at the doctors, guys. But actually, young people don't have credit cards. So we all were the generation, assuming we were all the generation where you could get credit cards. Young people don't have credit cards. So loan companies have devised a way to encourage young people to borrow money to get into debt. So like how the one thing that young people are doing well, they're not having credit cards. We've devised a way to make them get into debt.
I know, it's horrendous.
Klarna, ClearPay, there's another one.
These payment installments and things like that.
And they've advertised it as financial wellness. I'm like, no, guys, it's just old-fashioned debt. The reason you're scared of a credit card is the same thing.
Yeah, pay over time. It's a store credit card, isn't it, basically, when you used to get your store cards and whatever else. It's the same thing.
But I think what we have to be careful of is we have to be careful about saying, oh, fast fashion, it's naughty. Actually, it's the only fashion that some people can afford to buy.
Yeah.
And it keeps a lot of people in business. It keeps a lot of people in jobs. I mean, there are probably 5,000 people who work for InStyle, Boohoo. Those businesses create a lot of jobs on our island that don't exist. So I just think we've got to do it responsibly.
And that's it. It's the responsibility, isn't it? And I do really honestly think that those businesses are listening. I do think they are, and they're putting things into place to be mindful of like where the fabrics come from and what fabrics are being used and where it's going. And who is it now? It's a really, is it River Island or somebody is doing where if you send the clothes, your old
H&M.
clothes, send them back, and then we'll reuse them or whatever recycle them, and then I think that's a brilliant idea. Really.
Regain, it's not the hair people, it sounds like the hair people, but Regain, and there's another couple of companies that do it, where you send them your unwanted clothes, they redistribute, but then they give you a credit voucher for Jones, a bootmaker, or loads of different places. I think if someone's a millionaire with loads of cash to spend, build one of those factories where they can recycle all of the components of clothing, and then we can have a circular economy and they can all enjoy our clothes and relax.
That's exactly
that
what
would be lovely.
You can't underestimate the fact you feel good when you've got new clothes on.
Well, exactly. Well, this is what I'm all about.
What Anna's definitely about is it's choosing those good pieces, though. It's definitely choosing those pieces that when you do bring them out, you always feel good in them, and you're like, oh my God. And it might have cost you a little bit more, but A, it's going to last, and B, you always get, what do you say, the wow or the fab factor?
Yeah. Oh, what do I say? I can't remember what I said.
It's not a good advert for you.
Mine's gone complete. It's that feeling of self-confidence, self-worth that actually a lot of my clients will come to me and be like, it's never like, oh, I just want a new dress. It's I want to feel good. I want to feel confident going into work, or I want to feel confident going to the coffee morning with the other mums, or whatever it is. That's what clothes do. And if we can buy pre-loved or have things that last or that we can restyle in lots of different ways, then that's even better. Like you say, it's not necessarily about buying designer or having to spend lots of money. It's about buying carefully within your budget and choosing those pieces really well so that they fit well and they feel good. And that in turn boosts your confidence and gives you that kind of armor to go into whatever situation you're going into, feeling like the best version of yourself.
Absolutely. And your book, she's got a book, as well.
Do you ever sleep, Helen?
No,
not really.
Wild. So it's called Wild Girl, isn't it? And it's about it's adventures for kids. Is that right?
Yeah. So I wrote that. I mean, that's when I first. So we lived abroad for a couple of years and came back, and I wanted to be at home. So I wrote that when I was at home, basically. So I wrote it like a couple of years ago.
But you only launched it last year, did you? Last year? Yeah,
it got published last year, So I had a lovely illustrator from Yorkshire. Launched it in September. Yeah, it's a collection of adventures and trips and stuff like that for kids. And people say, is it for girls? I'm like, no, it's not for girls. It's just because a lot of them are based on my adventures. That's why they wanted to have a title like Wild Girl. So, it's just, do you know what? It's just a fun record of all the things that I've been part of, and it's kind of to try and encourage people to push themselves, get outdoors. It's not to get too intense, but it's kind of wellness for young people, really. Like, challenge yourself, feel the wind in your face. I don't want to lecture people about getting away from screens, but I think sometimes people just need a few ideas. I'm never inside with my kids, and I think I take for granted that I know how to do that. It's not alien to me to take my kids to the park and climb a tree, but it is alien to some people.
Yeah. It is, definitely. So my husband and I have this conversation. I'm a proper camper. Like, my mum had me camping from day dot and, walking up mountains and whatnot else. And it was, a lot of it, me and her. And it was something that was just completely natural to me, was being outdoorsy, zipping up cagoules and, the wellies on. When my husband and I were married and I'd, talk about let's go off on an adventure, he was always a bit like, oh yeah, no. No, and after a while, especially when Fred came along, and I'd say, come on, let's go camping. And when Freddie was about 2 or something, he'd make every excuse under the book. And I think, and I said to him, I went, do you know how to camp? And he went, yeah, of course I do. And I was like, well, thinking about it, actually, he grew up by the sea. So he was a seaside boy, and he knows the sea really well. He knows the beach, he knows that, but he's not a country boy. And so for him, it wasn't actually really just the go-to. So when we'd be putting up the tent, and I'm like, yeah, come on, But obviously with his masculinity, he's going to kill me for saying this now, but his masculinity was kind of like, well, I don't want to look like the one that doesn't really know what they're doing. And genuinely, he didn't really, because he's a seaside boy. He knows fishing and stuff that I don't know anything about.
But it's just not in some people's remit to do it, is it?
It just wouldn't occur to some people to do that. And I think especially in a culture where screens are so readily and easily available and often an easy solution.
No judgment here.
And there's no judgment. My little boy is currently off school and in the next room on his Nintendo. We all need them at times.
He's living his best life.
He is so happy right now.
3 ladies going on and on.
He literally can't even hear us. He won't even hear us when he's plugged in. But, it's having that balance, isn't it, as well? And I know my kids are never happier than when they're outside in any weather, just running around like lunatics. That's when they're happiest, and you can tell that.
I just wanted a record for almost like a little guide for people to go to and go, I could do this. And do you remember in the magazine that they used to have cash credit or, so I've kind of done that for adventures. So I'm not saying everyone should go to Namibia and run an ultramarathon, but that's one thing you could do, or you could do a few things like that, or you could do a 5K, or you could do a marathon. And there's loads of different types of adventures: city adventures, urban adventures, UK adventures, foreign adventures. So it's hopefully to give people a bit of encouragement.
How did you research all that? Was it based on stuff that you'd actually done over?
95% of it is stuff I've done.
Yeah.
My goodness.
And then I left some big chunks out because the publisher was like, that stuff doesn't really fit. And I was like, do you know what? If I die tomorrow, I'd just like to give my kids this book and go, see, Mummy was really cool.
Is there anything you haven't done that is still on your list? Like, is there anything that you were like, I really want to do?
there's lots of stuff I'd like to do, but I think now I've got the boys, it's different. Like, I'm not going to disappear. I think that's what I found hardest about becoming a mum. First baby, you still got your identity. Second baby, no, you're very much a mum because you're only doing jobs that fit in around them. You're only doing, even
the
like wearing
logistics are
stuff.
hard.
Yeah, it's a different. For me, it was I found having Ernie, total breeze. I found the adaptation to having two a bit more of a like, oh, okay, I've got to get one in the buggy to go school run and that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, the
like,
logistics.
The first one, I was like, cool, mum on my scooter. I found that more of a head puddle, and I think that also has changed my approach to like adventures and everything. I went to see Ben Fogle talk last year, and I was like, he went up Everest and had a very frank conversation with his kids about what did they think could happen to him.
I watched that documentary actually and felt the anxiety just from watching it when he was having that conversation with his family.
Yeah, and I think for me, I couldn't, like people often say to me, do you want to go to Everest? No, actually I don't.
Have you jumped out of a plane?
Yeah.
Yes, I knew you'd have done that. But would you do that now?
I would do that now.
Okay.
Because actually that's probably more safe than crossing the road a lot of the time. But for me, I'd rather do stuff that's like quick bursts. So like I wouldn't, and then like, it's the time. Like I couldn't go to the Amazon for 2.5 months, and nor would I want to. And I keep thinking, could we do stuff like with the kids? I bought a camper van last year, so we go off.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. I was like, oh my God, she's literally living the best life. I was so jealous.
Well, I don't know. Sometimes when they're wrestling at 3:00 in the morning on a piece of canvas and then in a shower for 4 days, when you're like,
maybe not.
Get me to Centre Parks, please. There's stuff that I would like to do, but I feel like it has to fit around the kids.
Yeah,
and. Yeah, I'm lucky. I haven't got time at the minute.
Yeah, at the minute you haven't. I mean, did you always want to go into telly?
No, I wanted to make telly.
Oh, really?
I always wanted to be a camera person. And then worked in a newsroom and loved that. Just loved the stories. Was a terrible journalist, like in that everyone loved the scandal and the justice. Whereas I was like, that's a shame. Yeah. I once remember getting sent to interview an MP and I just ended up having a coffee with the MP and got nothing on tape. She was having a really torrid time. So no, I wanted to make telly, but then an opportunity came up at Newsround to cover someone's maternity leave, and it was in football. And at the time, there weren't many women doing football, so they were like, okay, you do it. And then Blue Peter asked me to audition, and so on and so forth.
I mean, yeah, to say it's quite an accidental job, really, but you obviously, like I say, there's things in it now that you found that you just absolutely love, and just. So what's next for you, Helen?
I've kind of gone back to radio, which is a different one for me. I think when you get into telly, people have this weird assumption, don't they, that you do a bit of radio and then if you're really good, you get to be on the telly, and it's not like that.
No, it isn't like that. Not anymore, anyway.
No. So I'm kind of trying to hone my skills in radio a bit because I'm enjoying that. And again, it works. It works with the kids. Like I know what time I'm off air, and that's. Sometimes we could become embarrassed about admitting that, don't we? Like it's like we're not allowed to say I like having a job and I like being a mum.
Yeah.
I feel like we've always meant to be one or the other. Like you're either really cold and you don't like your kids, or do you know what I mean? Like it's like we're meant to be one or the other.
Or you are that kind of really hands-on mum that's judgy to the other, like career type mums.
Everything's organic and everything's like I've done creative homemade Play-Doh before school.
I can't do that.
Yeah, but it's I always felt like it had to be two camps, but I really don't think it does have to be. And I found a massive, massive difference working for women who've got kids.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, hugely. I think that's so important. That is really important. Is if you have a network and it starts kind of with people in the same boat who are, working women, but equally they understand that you're like, okay, yeah, I want to clock off now. Yeah, off you go, then see you later, and then come back. But as long as you get those, so for example, I might clock off for a good few hours, but then 8-9 o'clock, I'm back on it because Fred's in bed by that time. And so if I'm sending emails between even you and I, Anna, it's like, it's okay. Yeah. We get it. We get that there's flexible working hours. We can still do our jobs really well and still be good mums.
And parents, because I'm lucky because my husband gets days off in the week, so we both sort of do it between us. Like, we don't really have any, we have a babysitter, but we don't have like a nanny or anything. And it's funny, my friend said to me, if you go back to work when you're a dad or a mum, you're doing it A, because you need the money, but B, because you like it, like you're choosing to be there. So actually, you've probably got more desire to be there than a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're more efficient, aren't you? I feel like I'm really rude these days. Sometimes I'm on, do I need to know that? No, okay.
See you later.
So before we finish up, what would be your dream job?
A live show from my back garden, so an easy commute to work with potential for chaos to go wrong. I don't know.
Is there anything out there already that you think, you know what, I'd love that gig?
I enjoyed working on Lorraine when I was covering there, but it's in London and I love London. I do love London, but I'm not a billionaire, so it's hard to live in London, I think, if you're not. Mm-hmm. So that was fun. But is there a job out there that I'd want to do? No, I like the variety of what I've got. Like, it's, as I say, no 2 weeks are the same. When people ask me what a typical day is, I'm like, there's no easy answer.
Well, I know that because trying to track you down, I'm like, oh my God, where is she now? But anyway, unfortunately, our time has run out for today. And thank you so much for coming to see us, Helen. It's been ace. And next time we'll have wine.
Yes, please.
Because she will come back, definitely.
I've actually got wine in my bag. When I get off the train, the first class people, if I get first class from work, not that I do that myself, but I get from work, they give me the wine. I'm like, I'll take that.
Stock up.
She's still got it in her bag.
My boss at 5 Live the other day was like, why have you got gin in there? And I was like, it's for my friends.
Well, we'll definitely crack that open next time. Definitely. It's definitely been brilliant to have you with us. Now, I do actually feel quite sad. I don't sound quite sad, but I do feel sad because I will be back next week, but we won't have Anna. Aww. Fear not, though. She will be back with us for series 2 of the Capsule in Conversation when we return after Easter. I've still got one more episode of this series left with probably my most special guest, no disrespect, Helen, but with my mum as we record a very special In Conversation Mother's Day episode next week. In the meantime, as always, you can catch up with all of our regular content at the website www.thecapsule.co.uk and across all of our social channels. You can also listen to our previous In Conversation episodes by subscribing to any of our podcast platforms. Please do leave us your rates and reviews too, as we love hearing from you. For today, though, all that's left for us to say is goodbye. So it's goodbye from Anna.
Goodbye.
Goodbye from Helen.
Bye.
And goodbye from me.